2023 began in darkness for many in Ukraine. Russian missile and drone attacks on the country's power grid during the winter damaged half of Ukraine's energy infrastructure. The attacks continued into spring, and many were forced to take shelter at metro stations and bomb shelters. When summer came, Ukraine's counteroffensive began with high hopes. But the effort was bogged down against Russian forces. Kyiv's objective was to move its troops southward to cut off a critical land bridge connecting Russian-occupied Crimea from mainland Russia and liberate territories in the east. While Ukraine waited for weapons deliveries from Western allies, Russian forces spent the spring months securing their defensive lines. Thousands of landmines and deep trenches along a 1,000-kilometer-long front line kept Ukrainian troops from advancing.
It created, I would say, the situation very unlucky one for Ukraine. So we argued for the fact that we need weaponry for offensive, but in meantime, when we eventually get this decision and this shipment, it was too late.
Out at sea, merchant ships faced renewed risks when Russia decided to withdraw from the Black Sea grain deal in July. Moscow announced that any civilian ship passing through the Black Sea would be considered a military threat. But in August, Ukraine opened a temporary corridor and began attacking Russian naval assets, pushing Moscow's ships to the eastern coast of the Black Sea. More than 100 cargo ships have since passed through.
The fact that the country with no classic navy was able to ensure the freedom of navigation and functioning of the so-called grain corridor, and more than 7 millions of tons of both agriculture products and iron ore and other things that were exported from Ukrainian Black Sea ports. So it's the biggest success of our campaign.
Ukraine's economy adapted to the conflict as exports picked up and businesses were helped with foreign financial aid. The World Bank said the Ukrainian economy was expected to grow by about 3.5% this year. But the costs of reconstruction are mounting.
On the outskirts of Kyiv, you still see buildings and houses like these damaged. They're still waiting to be rebuilt, just like many others across Ukraine.
In December, EU leaders agreed to open membership talks with Kyiv.
This is a historic moment, and it shows the credibility of the European Union, the strength of the European Union. The decision is made. We open negotiations with Ukraine.
But Western military aid has come under greater scrutiny. The US has struggled to get Congress to approve more.
Without supplemental funding, we're rapidly coming to an end of our ability to help Ukraine respond to the urgent operational demands that it has. Putin is banking on the United States failing to deliver for Ukraine. We must prove him wrong.
Existing funds are running out, and without new aid, officials have warned that Ukraine could lose the conflict. As the year comes to a close, Ukrainian soldiers are digging in. Megumi Lim, CGTN, Kyiv.